Hello and welcome to another episode of the Asian Seller Podcast. I'm your host, Meghla Bhardwaj. And in today's episode, I'm going to be talking to Anna Davidson from London. Now, Anna is an Amazon seller and a mentor and a coach as well. Hey, Anna, how are you doing?
Hey, good to be here. Hi.
Hi. Thanks a lot for joining me on the podcast, Anna. So I wanted to talk a little bit about, your story. You shared your story and some of the challenges that you had faced last year on a Facebook post recently. And I read that and I was really touched. And I was also very impressed by your grit and determination to overcome all of those challenges. So I thought it'd be nice for you to share your story so that, maybe some other people, especially women, might be inspired by what you have achieved so far. So, Anna, why don't you tell us a little bit about, yourself? What's your story?
Yeah, so just to give people a little bit of background, sort of my experience as regards to what I was doing way before I got involved with Abusive.
Yeah.
That sort of starts the beginning of my story. I worked in the corporate industry for, I think it was 13, 14 years. And kind of moved up that corporate ladder. I worked in the pharmaceutical industry. It's interesting because I now am really anti-drugs, like my children. I'm really holistic with different treatments and different things. I think sometimes working in an industry, it turns the opposite way. But the positives was I learned a lot about branding, working for a blue chip company. I actually headed up the Viagra brand at the time, which we all laughed because obviously Viagra, but having that experience of kind of leading on such a huge brand has sort of given me quite a lot of experience in the e-commerce world, I suppose. Although I wish I had the funding that that kind of brand had behind it these days, but that sort of gives you sort of a bit of a snapshot of what I did before. But I always had that. I don't know, I think a lot of people relate to this, like you want to have a bit of freedom, but you always have that bit of an entrepreneurial spark. My dad was an entrepreneur and a financial advisor and ran his own business growing up, and I think the corporate world restricted me a lot. And it was when I had my first son, Jacob, that in my head I was like, right, I'd just got this leadership role within work and I was going up the corporate ladder, and I thought, I'm going to have this child's going to go into nursery, and then I'm going to go back to work, and I'm just ticking that box because I'm having a child and I'm married, and everything was all really happy. And when I had Jacob, I just changed my whole perception. It was just the emotion probably just took over as a mum, and I thought, actually, I don't really want to be going back into the corporate world and being away on these fancy conferences, and it just didn't pull me anymore, just in that small amount of time that I had off with it. I had 12 months off, and while I was on maternity leave, I was looking at other kind of online alternatives, I suppose. I look back now and I laugh at myself because I was looking at a lot of scams, really. But I was just looking at ways to make money online as a mum from home.
Yes. How long ago was this?
I was the best. So I got made redundant in 2011.
Okay.
But Jacob was born in 2007. So it was then that I was looking. So when he was born in 2007, I was looking. But I hung on because I had that whole mindset thing of how, I was earning a really good salary, big bonuses, as you can imagine in, the pharmaceutical industry, they pull you with those big bonuses. And I had, I drove a BMW, life was good. And also I had the pressure of finances on my shoulders because I was the breadwinner in our family. But I was happy, I was ambitious. I thought I could juggle it all. So I started to look at alternatives then, but it wasn't until I had my second son, Reuben, and in 2010 that I thought, I want to go. And there was lots of redundancies happening, and I was hoping, I was like one of these people whose fingers crossed I was going to be made redundant, because I had this whole idea, and it was all based around mums and business. And my background was sales, and I thought I wanted to help mum type businesses, maybe like Avon and all those types of kind of maybe multi-level marketing type businesses, to really help them sell, because I felt that a lot of those types of businesses were run by mums who just loved the products and I thought I could really help them sell, give that sales experience. But what I realised very early on, what was great was I'd had a big lump sum redundancy, so I had a bit of time to work this out. Was that actually I knew no marketing skills, and I was a bit blinkered with that, if I'm really honest. So I actually bought an online digital marketing program and learned so much about the online marketing world, and that was kind of like my mindset shift then. I really drilled into Facebook marketing at the time. It was when Facebook marketing was really high. Nowadays it's a lot more challenging. And it was way before you did any physical products on Facebook. So yeah, I then learned a hell of a lot around digital marketing, and actually ran a program helping anybody. It wasn't just mums, because I'd also pinned myself into mums, helping them do Facebook advertising and that kind of thing. And then I got into Amazon. But to rewind, because talking about my story is something that is very new to me, because it's something that I've been really scared to talk about, if I'm honest, because I don't want to be labelled a domestic violence victim, if I'm honest. But now I've realised, to help myself and in my own healing, that actually I could help a lot of people out there, and I've been hiding it. So it's emotional because it hits my core, but it's something that I've decided that I need to help other people with, and that I'm not going to hide anymore. And actually, it's making me who I am, because like you said, it's really nice to hear you said the grit and determination, because sometimes we don't see that in ourselves. Yeah. I see things that I've had to survive, and my boys were obviously my forefront, that I needed to. I've always wanted them to be proud of me. And I've always had that ambitious streak, but I've always wanted, I didn't ever want to let them down. And so now is the time to kind of get my story out there. And, maybe somebody could be listening to this who because it's strange. When you're in a relationship that goes a bit toxic, because it wasn't at the beginning. Everyone always says, did you not know we was like that? It wasn't like that. It just creeped up on me overnight, really. We started having a few challenges. I will hold my hands up, so I was probably really driven at the time in my own business, and was very sort of maybe blinkered to having time, every relationship you need to make sure that you've got time, whereas I was really, really ambitious, really focused on building my, business from home. I probably didn't give him too much time. But then it just seemed to creep up overnight that we had financial challenges, because obviously I was made redundant and everything was on my shoulders, and I could see what was going to happen if we didn't sort it out. We were, it was getting worse. And then it just felt like overnight he just changed. It's so, you hear, it's funny, I see this like out of body experience, hear people say this story, and I think they probably think you knew what he was like, but he didn't, because you're in love with someone, that is your partner for life. And it took me so long to work out that actually I was going to have to get out of this relationship, and it took me probably 3 years to get out, because there was these constant dramas of, I lived with a bag in my boot of my car for about 8 months that had everything in it. It had my clothes, like say 2 or 3 outfits, the boys' clothes, 2 or 3 outfits, and our passports. So I knew that in a drama, I could just get my laptop and go, because that's all I needed. And I look back on that now and I think, I can't actually believe I lived like that for even like 8 months. But so, I think something mentally happened with him. I'm not trying to, say that he's got mental health, but something changed. And there was lots of violent episodes, strange, bizarre things, in burning my clothes, really, really, nasty things that would happen in a disagreement that would get way out of control. And because he was the person that I married and he was my soulmate, I forgave him and kept trying to work this out. Even we went to the doctors, we tried every solution to try and work this out. But in the end, I realised by looking online, like we do, we search online, don't we, for help sometimes, that actually I was in a very abusive relationship, and I hadn't realised. And because I was such a strong person and was the breadwinner, I thought I couldn't be. you know.
Yeah,
But control can kind of creep up on me like that, you know.
exactly.
So my thing, I remember at my lowest, I look back on it now and I think it was gratitude, but I didn't realise that's what I was doing at the time. But I used to just wake up and think about 2 or 3 things that I was grateful for to get me through that day. And it was usually around the boys. It was usually that their health was fine, because or that there would be other women in a situation that weren't financially independent. That was my other big one. I thought I've still got my independence financially, and I kept saying I can go at any time, you know. But the reason it took me so long was that I was working on having an agreement that this had broken down, because I didn't
Right.
want to just go and then there'd be more problems, which there have been. I've still got court hearings going on, so I'm on my 28th court hearing now,
Wow.
because it got more, it got more abusive when we split. But I think it is difficult to hold on to the positives, but I think my business really kept me going because I didn't want to let people down. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't want to let my children down. So if I hadn't had my business, I think, maybe I would have been maybe a lot more affected. I kind of hung on to those positives, really.
Right. And so, what was the tipping point? What really made you decide this is it? I need to leave now.
Um, the tipping point was when there was a bit of a drama, and I literally had to flee the house. What had happened was he smashed a plate in my hands, and my eldest son ran down the stairs, and you know those little tiny bouncy balls,
Mm-hmm.
they're really bouncy, the really small ones.
Yeah. Yeah.
He threw it at his dad's head, and I knew it was to distract him and to save me, really. And I thought, this has got ridiculous now that my 7, 8-year-old at the time is actually trying to save his mother. I thought, I need to get out for them, because I couldn't get him to agree that it was over, you know. He'd move out, I'd let him come back. There's lots of different things that had happened along the way. And the police have got involved and everything. I just thought, I can't save this anymore. I need to save my soul, because my soul's dying. And if I don't, save my children and get out, then this is just going to get worse. I can't, because I'm a solution person, so I'm always helping my friends out. I'm just thinking, how can I always help my friends out? I can't seem to help my situation out. It's really difficult when the two of you are not agreeing on something.
Right.
And I tried lots of different ways. So yeah, it was when Jacob had sort of stepped in, I thought, that should not be happening.
Yeah. And I think we sometimes, women find it difficult to get out of such situations because they think, oh, it's kids need to have two parents, and it's going to be very difficult to raise kids. But actually, it's harming kids more, right? I mean, the toxic environment is more harmful to children.
Yeah, and
So
that's what happened to me. I was trying to say, I kept thinking they need their dad, but I thought, I'm not teaching them the right values here. They're gonna become like that,
right.
as two men in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, growing up, I witnessed something similar to, happen to a very close relative. So I totally understand how it feels and how difficult it is for women to come out of such situations. And it's also, really important for women to be financially independent, or have, the skills to be financially independent in case such a situation arises. So, okay, let's
Yeah,
talk about, your business. So then you stumbled upon Amazon, and
yeah.
then how did you start your Amazon business? And are you still doing digital marketing, or are you focusing entirely on Amazon now? And how did the transition
Absolutely.
happen? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think I just actually, because I did literally stumble across Amazon. I was never interested in physical products, because I kind of, again, knew the mums that sold on eBay and couldn't
Yeah.
see that it was really a long-term business unless you had a warehouse. So it was when I'd seen, I think it was a webinar on the whole FBA model, and that really excited me, because I thought, wow, you can actually, I don't need the staff, I don't need all those sort of more complicated things, I suppose, as running a bigger business. So yeah, I then thought, well, actually, I'll start with supplements because my background was I thought I could have my own store, you know. And I did a prenatal vitamin and a skin, hair, and loss vitamin. Sorry, skin, hair, and nail vitamin, and a weight loss vitamin as well. And it was all geared at mums actually. And I did that in the US with a US supplier. Recently come out of that niche, got to say, because it's very, 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 very competitive, and I was spending such a lot on PPC advertising. But at the time when I launched it, for a good few years, it was a really, really strong brand.
So when did you launch it? What year was that?
That was in 2012.
2012. Okay.
Yeah. So
I guess supplements is very competitive now. I think at that time it was still a bit easier to get in.
Yeah, it was. And also it wasn't just Amazon. I did the marketing. I had a Facebook page, so I used my Facebook knowledge. It was called the Mums Hub, and it offered lots of different like help and advice to mums, and then these supplements sort of came into it, you know. So it was like working the brand off Amazon as well, which I think you've got to do when it's a competitive market. I then did a joint venture with a guy who had a lot of importing experience and learned quite a lot from this guy. He had been importing traditionally with warehouse and all that kind of thing, and doing containers for about 15 years. And he set me a bit of a challenge because we just had some banter on Facebook, because he thought that Amazon FBA was rubbish and that eBay was the thing, because he did a lot of big big stock, you know, like garden furniture and you know, container stock really. So he had a smaller product, and we did a joint venture, and he sold on eBay and I sold on Amazon FBA, and I completely smashed him, and he was like really impressed. So we started doing little bits of joint ventures, and then he ran a workshop on eBay, so we decided to do a joint one. It was just in the UK, an offline workshop, and it was just a day workshop, and that was the start of my sort of coaching really as regards to Amazon, because then I had products in the beauty category, sort of tech gadgets. More recently I've been focusing, like a lot of people, on eco-friendly and bamboo products, because that's why I think we were talking, weren't we, at the white label about India and those kind of products from you know, eco-friendly products.
Right.
So yeah, we did a workshop, but I was always interested in the online world because I've done a lot of webinars, and my world, selfishly, working around my boys, I wanted to go more into the online world. And so more recently I've been working with, doing a joint venture with import experts where I've been a coach. And then last year I actually set up my own program, because over the years I've seen myself do offline workshops, one-to-one, you know, Skype type Zoom call, coaching. You know, I've never done kind of like a quick 4-week course, but, you know, a program that's finishing. And I think what I identified is that it's great having Facebook groups and asking for help and having videos and people working through them. But from my experience, what people really, really need is ongoing help. Because even if you've launched a couple of products and then you come into an Amazon problem, or Amazon, you know, is obviously evolving and changing, you need to be able to reach out to like a mentor or coach constantly, not just by a post on Facebook. Sometimes you just want to have that conversation. So the program that I do now, which is just a small group, there's only 18 of us at the moment, and it has a weekly call. It's like a weekly live call that, you know, is forever really, I say, because I just know that people just need to be able to reach out and have that hand holding on a weekly basis.
Right. So you've of course worked with a lot of you know, sellers. So what are some of the common mistakes that you see people making when they're starting out on Amazon?
I think because I suppose product research is the most challenging area people find anyway, because either they spend months and months and months overreaching and do like paralysis by analysis, or they do far little research and then just pick something that's really competitive, and you know. So I think the mistake that people make is then they're just wanting a product because they're wanting to see the return on investment, and they're not really deeply thinking about, let's look at this long-term value of this brand. How can I, you know, like say they pick a garlic press, for example. how can I separate myself from all the other garlic presses on Amazon? I'm presuming garlic press is pretty competitive anyway. But how would I offer more value to the customer, and how can I create a really unique brand, like something like Apple, or I look at my days of selling Viagra? How can I create a better packaging and that real brand that either, I could bolt something in and bundle something together with it, or I could, have that whole customer experience with the packaging. I think a lot of people overlook things like packaging and really creating a unique brand that's going to stand out as premium. Because that's what I really teach, is really separating yourself from the competition of having a premium brand, so you're not having that price war. You've got this unique line of products, and that branding and customer experience is really important.
Mm-hmm.
Because then people don't do their photos. If you get that branding right, and you have really premium photos, you really separate yourself. And I think a lot of people overlook that. They spend all this time searching this product, say on Jungle Scout or Helium 10, and want to kind of just get it out there and sort of slap a logo on it and just use the cheap Chinese packaging or whatever, and then just use the Chinese photos or add a little bit of something from somebody on Fiverr. But I think you've got to really make it premium and really have a quality balance there.
Yeah, and I think that's one reason, a lot of sellers are looking to India as well, because the products there, when we were at the trade show, we saw the products are really high quality, very unique, and very different from what you'd find in China. Of course, you can't find a lot of electronics or those kinds of products. So there is a limitation in terms of the variety of products and the categories that you can source from India. But yeah, very high quality, very differentiated, unique products. I think, and also eco-friendly products. There's just so many interesting products. There was this one supplier at the show, and we had brought some samples at White Label Expo as well. There's this fabric made from recycled plastic water bottles.
Oh, yes.
So yeah, did you see that?
I love stuff like that, because like you say, they're really unique, and things are going to get more, everything's going to be sustainable in the future, I think.
Right.
Maybe not 100%, but we're going more and more that way. And I think the unique, that's why I was really interested in coming on one of your trips. I think there could be some really interesting products that really stand out and are different.
Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about product research, because that's of course the most important thing, I think, that really determines how successful your product is going to be on Amazon. So what are some of the strategies that you teach people as far as product research is concerned?
So, yeah, I mean, I ask people, a lot of people don't do this. A lot of people say don't focus on an interest of yours, but I say do focus on an interest of yours, because in any business, you're going to have, there's going to be ups and downs. And when you're going through the downs, if you picked, a plug-in insect repellent, it's going to be difficult to really kind of inspire you going forward. So I always say to people, start with picking a niche, because I teach that you want to launch 3 to 5 products in that niche. So you want to research lots of different products within that particular niche that you've got an interest in. And it doesn't have to be a hobby. It might be that they bought those products on Amazon themselves and just got an interest in those types of products. Now, we need to make sure that the return on investment is there as well. And it's not just somebody who's going off on a tangent on what they're interested in. And then I've always used Jungle Scout, so I always recommend to use Jungle Scout, although I do know, there's lots of other softwares now, and that's probably me and my habit over the years. I also use OnGuru as well these days, looking at keywords, because that's been really useful. Jungle Scout do the whole opportunity score, which I don't majorly look at. I mean, I have a glance at it, but I think sometimes people can rule out good products by saying, it's high demand, high competition, it's gone. What I want to look at is that sales volume, that there's the sales demand. And then also, when you go onto Amazon, that on page 1, there's other products that have got low reviews on page 1, because then I know that when we launch, it's not going to take me so long to get up to page 1 and be competitive, really. So it's looking at that sales volume and making sure that there's a good sales volume. Now, again, it also depends what country you're launching in. because if you're launching in the US, you want that sales volume to be around about 1,000 units. In the UK, I would be looking at 350 as that set monthly sales volume, because I know that I've got the rest of Europe and it's a smaller market that I'm dealing with. And then obviously you've got Australia, which, you know, Jungle Scout's not available as yet, and you can really, the world's your oyster there, isn't it? You know that the volume's going to be lower sales. So the main thing I look at is the demand in sales and the amount of reviews and the quality of those listings. Because I spend quite a lot of time, a lot of my students are focusing in Europe, and there's kind of less competitiveness there. So we're always looking at how we can create unique brands compared to the ones that are already available. Right. And it's just working out your numbers, you know, making sure that my program, I say that we're focused on 17 sales a day. On a £20 or a €20 or $20 product is going to give us that 6-figure turnover, not profit, turnover. So 17 sales a day gives us that 10,000 a month, basing it on about, you know, 4,000 profit. And that's our first milestone that we're going for. So in the US, you could do that on 1, maybe 2 products. In Europe, you're going to need about 4. So it just all depends where your focus is and which sales volume you're going to go for, really.
Right. So
I think a lot of people, I also think a lot of people overlook keyword research. They just look for a few bigger keywords, and you've got to look for the longer tail ones and the smaller ones, because it's, you know, it's easier to focus on those rather than, you know, like digital thermometer is too wide. Maybe looking at eco-friendly baby digital thermometer is going to be like that niche within a niche, I suppose.
Yeah, totally makes sense. And then, so are you selling in Europe and in the US?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. What are some of the differences that you see in terms of, you know, the products that are selling well in the US or in Europe in terms of categories, you know, product categories? And what are some of the other differences that you see, you know, selling on the two? Of course, within Europe, there are different marketplaces as well, but in general, if you kind of, you know.
Yeah, in general, then I think the US is a lot more competitive, just generally, as we know.
Right.
And I think that there's more potential. Like the US is always ahead. So I often look for ideas for the US to kind of bring to Europe sometimes. There's a lot of marketeers in the US, so a lot of the listings are fairly good quality. But as regards to kind of like categories and things, I think the US have already been doing the eco-friendly, you know, they're already ahead of that. They might not be fully eco-friendly, you know, like the product may say it's eco-friendly, and then when you actually look, it's probably 60% eco-friendly. But in Europe, I'm trying to think of the differences with products. It's always just been that in every category that I've sold, it's just a lot more competitive is the main difference. Mm-hmm. I think just like the eco-friendly crafty market hasn't been done as much in Europe, and it's open and ready for more and more products. Whereas the US, I think, has already been ahead of that game a little bit. Mm-hmm. Trying to think of any other specific differences that I've noticed.
Like what about supplements and, you know, like superfoods are very popular in the US nowadays. Is that a trend in Europe as well?
Yeah, it is. It is. The green superfoods and all that kind of stuff is. Yeah, I think we just follow what the US do. We're just a little bit behind.
Okay.
But what is interesting is Amazon's more advanced in the US. So we were talking before we went live about sort of 2020 vision and things that are going to happen in Amazon. You know, the branding part of focusing on brands with the advertising and the future is all going to be about brand registry. And you can see that happening in the US and not so much right now in Europe, but we always follow. So it's going to happen. Because obviously I remember the days where you could just register the brand with giving proof that you had a website, which is funny now looking back. And obviously now you need to go through the whole trademark and really prove to Amazon that's your brand. And I think if people are not going to do that, or they're not focusing on that over the long term, then they're going to have challenges. I think you can launch a brand at the moment without having brand registry, but ultimately the goal should be to get that, because Amazon's spending more time focusing. You can see it in the US with their whole advertising. They've got the blogs and all sorts of integrations that they're putting into the platform for future branding, and different brands that are going to be launched. And I know that Europe will follow that. And I was reading something actually over the Christmas period all around branding on Amazon. I think Amazon are just going to prioritise people who've got brands. So that kind of fits in with all my focus really, which is good. Because I think it'll just get rid of the people who are flipping products really and just selling low quality, low standard products. So
right.
Because also I say to people that Amazon's a great platform, but you ultimately, if you go and focus on that interest and that niche and you're building a line of products, then take those products off Amazon and build your own e-commerce store. It's not always suitable for every product. Some products are just an Amazon product. But if you have got, say you've launched like a whole eco-friendly range, maybe all made out of bamboo, that would make a really lovely store. And of course, you've got to invest in PPC advertising, and whether it be Facebook or Google shopping. But long term, you're not putting all your eggs in one basket with Amazon, are you? And you've got more control over your brand as well.
Yeah, totally makes sense. So let's talk about trends and predictions for 2020. So one, of course, you mentioned branding. That's going to be very important. What are some of the other trends that you see in 2020?
I think the eco-friendly market is going to get even bigger. And I think there's going to be a lot more restrictions on Amazon for it. They've already said that they don't like the word eco-friendly.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. And they're actually, with their automations, they're searching for that word and actually pulling listings down. I was reading an article all around this. I've had eco-friendly in my listings, and I haven't been contacted, or my listing hasn't got suppressed. But they're similar to the supplement market, and like having safety data sheets with the hazmat. I think you're going to be having to prove what is the content of that item, because I suppose so many people are just stating it's eco-friendly when actually there's plastics in there. It's not completely eco-friendly. So I think the sustainable eco-friendly niche is going to get bigger, because I've seen it get really big over the last year. And so that wave of trend, I suppose, there's going to be more, it's going to get more competitive. But I think there's going to be, I think if people get quite creative and look for products that haven't yet gone sustainable that could be great in the future, that's the place to go. Because most people go for, bamboo straws and bamboo cutlery and things like that. And that's getting quite saturated now. It's looking at different niches that could be sustainable.
Right. I think one of the trends that we saw in India, or one of the product categories, was organic materials, so like organic cotton. And so of course you can do apparel, from organic cotton, but there are so many other types of products as well that can be made from, textiles or cotton. So there could be, bed sheets and furnishings and curtains and all sorts of things. So yeah, I think that's another category that will grow pretty fast, like organic materials, specifically cotton.
Yeah, because there's like a lot of hemp as well, isn't there? And,
yes.
I've seen like wheatgrass materials, the components made out of it. And obviously bamboo, fibers and microfibers and things like that.
Right. There were these disposable plates made from sugarcane waste, which is known as bagasse. So that was very interesting. Yeah.
That's good.
Okay, so what else? What are the other? Yeah.
I think it's those kind of things just really interest me, because I think they're they would stand out in that particular category then. You know, like it's thinking out that box of, if you see people do, you know, silicon or bamboo, or what other material could I do? That kind of area sort of really excites me, like we're saying about the sugar.
Yeah, you should definitely come on the next trip. Let's talk about it.
So yeah, other trends.
What about changes on Amazon, on the Amazon platform? For example, they're making it more difficult to email customers.
I just think that you've got to be, years ago when I first started getting in Amazon, it's like when we could, you know, launch products, and there was so many sort of internet marketers that were doing, I suppose, scammy black hat tricks and all that kind of stuff. And I think where people need to realize that you're building a proper business. If you saw it as like offline, you know, importing has always been around, hasn't it? It's all, whether people sold products on the market, offline, or in retail stores. And we've just had this massive wave of sort of e-commerce, and so solopreneurs getting involved with the Amazon marketplace. But I think people really need to see it as that you're building a real bricks and mortar business, but it's online. And what you would do to make sure that those brands were reputable and you know, trademarked and all those, and that should be the ultimate goal. And if you think within that mindset, then you're not going to get into any problem with Amazon. Whereas if you think, right, I just want to get this product and I want to make a load of money as quickly as I can, I just want to slap a logo on it and get it on there, you're going to come across problems, because I've seen Amazon focus on brands, and also they're getting stricter with new sellers setting up accounts, and you know, tax information and all these kind of things. And this is where people just need to focus on making sure that they're going into a real business rather than selling a few things on the side, really. It's having that mindset.
Yeah, a lot of the gurus out there, they kind of position this as a get-rich-quick scheme. So all you need is one product and you're going to make millions in just a couple of months. So what about strategies, you know, launch strategies? A lot of people are using chatbots to launch products on Amazon. Are you seeing any new trends in terms of launching products?
So I've been doing my own ManyChat kind of bit of research, really. It's not something that I've been teaching, but it's something that I've been doing, looking into my own brands. But I am actually at a very early stage. It's something really interesting because I've seen a lot of other people working on that. I think my strategies have more been around just simple strategies around Amazon advertising, and making sure that we have quality reviews on launch, and that's not to do anything sort of scammy. It's just making sure that you get those reviews by different strategies of having, you know, an incentive for people to do reviews that you know rather than people you don't know, and using advertising off Amazon. So because of my Facebook and Instagram knowledge, you know, launching a brand off Amazon into Amazon, by doing bits of advertising, that's because Amazon will reward you in their algorithm if you're bringing them customers. So just doing that at the beginning of your launch strategy, really. But yeah, the chat box, ManyChat, really is something that I'm at the early stages of testing myself. I think it's a great way, because email marketing is, I don't open as many emails as I used to. I don't know about you. Whereas, you know, we're all using WhatsApp and Messenger, aren't we? So I think I've done bits of research with my own Shopify sites, because I use Shopify in my own brand. I've just not done it through Amazon. So it's something that I'm researching myself, because I think that is the way of the future, really.
Yeah, totally agree with that. Especially WhatsApp. I think once WhatsApp integrates a little bit more, you know, with Facebook and Messenger, I think together Messenger and WhatsApp, they're gonna, the audience is just gonna explode, because there's just so many people using, you know, WhatsApp, so many more people than Messenger.
And
All
I know
right,
a lot
so
of
yeah.
people seem to be getting a lot of success from doing that as well, don't they? They're getting like huge open rates of like 80, 90%. Isn't it? It's
Yeah,
great.
yeah,
It makes sense. That's the way to go, I think.
absolutely. So what is in the works for your own business? What are you planning to do? Are you going to be launching any new products on Amazon, or, in terms of your training, do you have any new plans for 2020?
So as regards to my 2020 plan, I've got a couple of books coming out this year.
Ooh,
Uh,
nice.
so there's one. It's not around Amazon. There's 20 of us female entrepreneurs that are in it, and it's called She Made It Happen. That's going to be launched very soon. And then there's an Amazon book as well that I'm working on right now, which I'm involving other sellers and coaches and speakers and stuff. And that's hopefully that'll be launched in around about March time. I am going to launch a retreat this year. In fact, I mentioned this to you, I think, when we were talking about the India sourcing trip, because I was thinking India would be an amazing place. Because just from all my, I suppose, adversities, I think it's always really good to take time for you. And also, we work so much in our business that I just see people just work, and never taking time out of their business to really focus on their well-being, and also just to focus on what their own goals are, because sometimes our plans change, don't they, throughout the year, and I see a lot of people firefighting things, and actually you get to the end of a year and you think, geez, how quick has that gone? Have I done all the things I wanted to do? So just really taking stock on your business and spending time on you and your own health, because I think everybody has challenges. That's what I've learned along my way. Everybody has challenges, and it's good to kind of take time out from that and focus on you, rather than just being a mum, juggling everything all the time. So I wanted to go on a retreat for myself, and I thought, wouldn't it be great to organise a retreat? Because the more people I spoke to, they were like, that sounds good. So it's just going to be sort of taking stock in the middle of the year, really, and making sure that the second half of the year we've got our plans in place. And I want to build my own programme. I don't want it to be a huge group. I just want it to be a very small group so that everybody can support each other and reach out. And yeah, I think my plan for products for this coming year is to, like we're discussing with these sugarcane products, is to find some really unusual items in that sort of eco-friendly niche or sustainable niche, because I can see, obviously, like I said before, it's a trend, and it's going to get bigger and bigger, but it's also going to get really, really competitive, because it's starting to already, isn't it, in the US? Right. And it's thinking of different materials and really unique products within that niche, really.
Awesome. That sounds exciting. Well, Anna, thank you so much for your time. It was really nice chatting with you. And I look forward to meeting you, hopefully in India later this year.
You've got your April trip, haven't you? Have you got
yes.
Another trip planned yet?
Yes, we've got the next one in October. We do it every April and October.
Okay. So you do them the same time as sort of Canton, really?
Yes. And that's because the fair in India is organized, is held during those times, April and October. Yeah. Okay. So the fair, the trip is held around the fair.
Yeah, I see. Okay. Right. Yeah, that's one of my goals for this year.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much for your time. And guys, thank you so much for listening to the podcast. If you haven't already done so, please do subscribe to the podcast and join our Facebook group. Search for The Asian Seller on Facebook. We also have a Telegram group. Please join us there as well. And I will speak to you soon. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.